Welcome to all the panelists. We are very, very excited to bring what we women want to be known for and what challenges that you are facing for and whatever is normalized. We are going to talk about a lot of uncomfortable things too here. So we spoke about 1 Million Women initiative yesterday, and initially it was, I really mentioned that it's not going to be a feminist movement, but it is something that we really need to set the stage for, and that's exactly why we are here. So 1 Million Women, for those of you who were not there in the session yesterday, so it is an initiative by UMO India, which looks at empowering over 1 million women, right from design literacy all the way up to leadership and entrepreneurship. So we are going to be talking about what were the real struggles and which phase are women really expecting to be groomed, mentored, lifted up, and also seek support from a gender-biased community. So that's why we are here, and welcome to all the panelists. So initially I had all of their bios, looked up, stalked them on every possible social media channels to know more about them, but I realized it's best to have them talk about themselves because this is what they have achieved and it is their movement. So let's go with Rucha. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rucha Humna Batkar. I'm currently the Director of Design at YouTube. And I've been a design leader for the last 8 years. And before that, I've been a IC, like in the junior designer to the lead position. I've worked at multiple large global companies from eBay to Intuit to Twitch. And most recently, I'm still at YouTube. I was also, a design co-founder for a startup. I did not see hockey stick growth, but I learned a lot. It was a really great experience as a design co-founder for a startup called Neighborly. And if you were there for my previous keynote, I'm also a filmmaker, just a very curious person by heart in terms of learning and growing and trying different things. So I'm excited to be here and share more.
Great, thank you. So Miriam just noticed for pictures and for clarity of others, maybe you'll have to shift seats so it gets easier for everyone to recognize who's who. Yes, Miriam, over to you.
Yes. Is it working?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, fantastic. So I'm 30 years in Philips only. I'm a veteran, as they say. And I've been managing teams in design, but today as Global Innovation Experience Lab Lead. We also have labs in Bangalore in our innovation campus. So the job today spans much more than design. It's really looking at program management. It's mentoring teams from designers to scientists to IT teams that are dedicated to these labs. So diversity is basically the key word.
Wonderful. Over to Purnima.
Thank you so much, Nitya, and good afternoon, everybody. Purnima here. I'm currently the Chief Design Officer for IBM iX Studios. I run a large team of over 200 designers across the country. Very passionate about growing teams and worked across different domains in design. Started off with design teaching to moving on to global brand design. I've been an art director, then moved into interaction design, branded experiences, packaging. A lot of the Bonvita packaging that you've seen was designed by me. And then moved into, of course, experience design, the buzz that we're all into and sitting here for. And of course, my leadership journey has been for over 15 years now. Most importantly, we're in a panel discussion of women in design. I proudly like to attach to my identity. I'm a 13-year-old mother. And I think being a mother adds a lot of those characteristics that leadership really requires. The patience, the discipline, a lot of it that I somewhere sneakishly trade into my leadership qualities as well. That's me.
Wonderful. Welcome again. And now I'm going to go slightly offbeat. So you just spoke to us about your professional titles. So I'm going to move to something, who am I without the professional title? So what would you say or associate yourself if your leadership style were an animal? What would it be and why? So let's go with Miriam.
Okay, so I had to think about this one for a little bit. So I chose an elephant because elephants are social animals. They live in herds. They're extremely caring. I think that's something It's very important for me personally that everybody in the team feels at ease and has also kind of a social landing spot in the team that is agreeable and nice to have. You can have a bit of fun. I think elephants are also quite playful at times, but don't make them angry.
Wonderful. So how about you, Rucha?
This was definitely something I had to think about too. I was trying to decide between animals. I landed with dolphin. Dolphins are very collaborative, intelligent. They really help lead their pods. They're very creative and a lot of playfulness. And I would love to think that's what I bring to my teams. I lead from behind. I lead from front when needed. And I want to make sure there's a safe space. We're having fun while we're all working together, but we're also being very creative and really delivering towards a business and moving together as a pod. So I think that's important.
Purnima, how about you?
Interesting one. When you say leadership style, the first thing that comes to my mind is a very democratic way of working. And I couldn't really think of an animal, but perhaps if a bee was acceptable,
yeah.
A swarm of bees is where I'd probably like to connect my way of working, because working in tandem with the group, going with the whole group together, with a lot of buzz and energy and ensuring the swarm of bees is going together and ensuring that that final outcome is as sweet as honey for everybody to sort of cherish. That's probably my leadership style. Yeah.
I really loved how the animal conversation let us explore into each of your individual leadership styles. So this was the intent. So I'm sure all of you would have gained an insight about like what is their unique perspective about leadership with just this one question. So moving on to the next, if you were to be known beyond your role, what is that one thing that people would remember you for? So tomorrow we are all like beyond corporates, beyond titles, and we are just like relaxing in your favorite spot. But what would you want people to remember you for? Your team, what would you like them to remember you for?
Well, I think a very predictable answer for me to say would be a good human being, because I think that is like the very underlying thing for anything we do in our lives, right? Designers being empathetic as professionals, me being a mother or whatever. While that could be a predictable answer, what I deep down feel my answer should be is people for me to be known as that one person who always carries her sketchbook in her travel bag. I think a lot of people don't know me on that side of it. There's this constant sketchbook that I carry as a designer everywhere I go.
Nice. How about you, Miriam? Okay, yeah, Rucha, let's go.
Yeah, plus one to that. I think good human being, of course, is important. I'm a mom, I have 2 kids. And you run a team, there's a lot of, empathy that you develop. I will say pre-kids to post-kids, I probably have more empathy now than I did before, and patience. But if I had to think just about my personal self, I think I want people to remember me for being that storyteller and being that person who was the cheerleader for everybody in the room. I really care about innovation, I care about being creative, and that's always been my driving force, and I'm always there to support, whether it's my team or my friends or anybody, to like achieve and deliver the best of their potential. And so I hope that's what I'm remembered for.
Wonderful. Miriam?
Yeah, so working in healthcare, as I always feel that your role is so much more than your job title, because even the company's policy is to deliver better care for more people, and that's something I can 100% kind of put my energy behind. So in that sense, I would call it relatively easy, and I would like to be known for that, but also to, and complementary to what has been said before here, I'm also a mother, and I think that that's also, I think, what characterizes women leaders, is that we really focus on this social cohesion, but also that we kind of add that element of care. And I think in today's corporate world, that's a very nice counterbalance to what we see around us. So that I would like to be remembered for, to kind of take a stand for that. And I liked your analogy of the dolphins, because I think fun is a fundamental part of our existence, and that should also be in corporate. It should be there 100%.
Great. So, Rucha, if I were to ask you, what is one mindset or a habit that you had to unlearn as a leader? So we spoke about what you're known for, how do you lead teams, how do you lead at home, but if you were to recall something that you had to unlearn through your leadership journey, what would that be?
That was not an easy thing for me to do, because I think as you all of us designers, we're problem solvers, we're fixers, we want to be the smartest person in the room, we want to show up and have all the answers. And guess what, as a leader, that completely shifts, and I learned that the hard way. I learned that I had to unlearn that I didn't need to have all the answers. My job was to really ensure my team was empowered, that I was creating the right environment, and I had people who were problem solvers around me, and I didn't have to show up. It's that famous saying, teach them how to fish, don't fish for them. And that's how you build great teams. And so I think that was the biggest thing I had to unlearn.
That's wonderful. Purnima, if I were to, I mean, you were juggling with a lot of calls, you were having a lot of meetings, and so many of them really wanted to talk to you here also. So you are away and you are here. And if there is a behind a scene habit that you have left your team with where you are very confident that everything is running smoothly, what would that be? It could be a leadership choice, or it could be something that you have inculcated in the team that you're very sure that even when you are here doing something else, the team is functioning the way it should.
I think trust becomes the first and foremost thing with your team, right? And the fact that we're always connected, you know what, even if I'm here or whatever, there's so much energy in the team that they want to sort of ensure that the connection is still there with me. Even if I probably don't want to check on what they want to do, which I probably never do, I think they want to be able to share the smallest things with me, either if it's through a text or whatever, the excitement that sort of comes over here. Behind the scenes, I think it's largely the trust. I mean, you know that you're so confident about your team that they'll do their best, come what may, yeah.
Great, and Miriam, from whatever your career trajectory has been, there would have been a pivotal point where you did something that entirely changed your career trajectory. So if you were to recall, how did your journey go, and what was that pivotal point, whether known, unknown, or you just realized it now, what was that moment that changed things entirely for you?
Oh, that's a very good question, and a lot of things come to mind. But for me, I think it's actually to do with one of the previous questions. What did you have to unlearn? And in my case, that was modesty. I mean, I was just always like, nah, you know, taking a second stand and pushing people forward or letting other people pass by. And I didn't really completely unlearn that, but I kind of stopped doing that. It's not that I went to do the opposite, but I kind of just, you know, paused the extreme and maybe a female quality. I don't know, but I stopped when I stopped doing that, and you know, became a bit more firm in this is what I stand for, this is what I do. Yeah, things changed dramatically in my career.
Great. And Rucha, so you were talking about a lot of things that you do. You sit with the designers, you work very closely with art directors, you also sit with the technicians and doing. So what is that unique thing that you do when you see your team's creative energy dipping?
I think this happens with every team, whether you're a design team or any other function, there's ebbs and flows. And as a leader, you just have to have your pulse on that, and you have to be very tuned into that. The way I approach it is I kind of know the cycles that our teams go through when we're in like crunch mode, when things are low, when things are high. And identifying that and then giving them the space to breathe. I will literally tell people on my team, you have the afternoon off, go to the spa, go take a walk, I don't care, you're not in the office. So I think one is identifying individuals, are they hitting burnout? The second is your whole team. And you know, we'll even as a team, you may not have a lot of budget, just go to the park, get some pizzas and hang out. It's just being able to go out and do something fun, or even break out and work on a completely different problem outside of work. Do a creative design sprint. That just brings energy because you're thinking about a different problem and you're not constrained by your current sort of environment, and you're just really immersed in this different and creative experience.
Wonderful. And I have a question for Purnima, which is slightly more relevant to the audience here. A lot of them here and a lot of us will also be job scouting at some point in time. And when you are choosing talent for your team, there is always that battle of how do you nurture existing team versus when do you bring in fresh perspectives? Because it entirely changes the team dynamics when you don't accept somebody from outside where you feel I have it all, but why are they bringing somebody from outside? But the purpose of this community is the cross-pollination of talent and how do you bring fresh perspectives. So how do you balance that, like keeping your existing team happy versus bringing in fresh perspective?
I think that's a very good question. And in fact, that gets asked a lot sometimes when we do bring in people from the outside as such. One is to constantly educate the team in terms of identifying where their gaps are, which many of them don't realize. A lot of people come in asking, why am I not promoted or why am I not given that role? I think it's about working with them, enabling leaders within a leadership team, growth of leadership. So then we are allowing for people to even understand where their gaps are, right? So I make sure there are a lot of initiatives to ensure that that is catered to first, and then the upskilling and the reskilling, a lot of that sort of happens for them to be able to grow. Now, the fresh perspective typically comes in, one, when there is scaling happening within the teams, right? It's important to constantly scale when you're bringing in more work and things like that. And the sense of acceptance by the team to sort of educate them to accept this fresh perspective when we're sort of scaling. That also needs to happen with a lot of connects as such. And that is something I very strongly take my own time of it, in fact. I sit and speak to some of the most, when I talked about the very democratic style of working as such, I ensure I spend a lot of time with the youngest mindsets because I believe they have the most energy over here. And many a times they themselves don't realize that they have a certain hidden talent to go a little T-shaped there. And that's the part where we allow opportunities as leaders. It's your job as a leader to ensure that they tap that untapped side of it. You might be a silent, wonderful UX writer, which is a very, very niche skill. I'm probably going to make that person a T-shaped and allow that person the opportunity. And one thing that I keep telling them to my team is, it's okay to make mistakes and fail when we give you that opportunity. Don't be under pressure to ensure that you are proving yourself, right? Only when you dab your hands there, you even sort of understand where you're sort of growing. So I wouldn't say it's a very clear answer, like a black and white. It's a constant evolving scenario that we provide for a lot of our designers as such. It's important to experiment, allow them to sort of experiment. And that's when I think the maturity comes in to accept fresh perspectives. When you're sort of working so close to them, I don't think there is going to be any gap for them to accept the new perspectives that are coming in as well. And I think the B starts happening where I always keep saying that when individuals stop growing, a practice stops growing. So you allow them the space to grow as individuals. They are working in harmony with you, with leadership, to ensure that we are all scaling as a practice. So I guess that's where it is.
If I were to follow that up with Rucha, giving feedbacks is often not very easy, right? Especially when it has to improve both the work or the context that you're giving feedback, while also helping the person behind it to accept it or not go completely negative about it. So is there any creative tips from your side on how to handle those feedbacks?
Yeah, feedback is a very sensitive topic. I think a lot of people don't realize when entering these conversations that you have to prepare and you have to lay some groundwork when you do feedback. So there are a few things I'll talk about. One is, feedback is always, in my opinion, should be framed as opportunity. It's not about you have a gap. It's about, yes, you have a gap. Yes, there's a skill gap, but there's an opportunity for growth. So when you frame it more positively, then you have that as an opportunity presented to this person, and what's the plan forward that we can align on to make sure you're moving in that path forward. That's one. Second is feedback around how are you working with your partners? I personally don't just listen to one piece of feedback from a cross-functional team member or a peer. There has to be a theme. If more than 2 people feel this is an issue, then I think there is a point of feedback. Then there's coaching. Hey, have you tried talking to this person directly? Have you tried to resolve this by yourself before I step in as the parent to try to resolve this? I think, again, the principle of teach them how to fish. Because if you have an open mindset and a learning and growth mindset, then you're going to be better at accepting feedback and also acting on feedback. So really the framing of feedback is important. And also when you're about to deliver feedback, be sensitive to the context. If you've never given this person feedback and you suddenly show up in your first one-on-one and go, hey, I have all this feedback, and as a manager you unload on them, just imagine how that lands. You as a manager have just failed. You have not done a great job. You need to, A, be giving feedback should be a continuous cycle, be timely with it when something happens, set up the time, be very specific. I call it the SBI method, situation, behavior, impact. It takes the personal stuff out of it. It takes the biases out. It says, this was the situation, this was the observed behavior, and here's the impact that happened because of the actions. And that is how you start helping the person maybe zoom out and just step out of themselves and start thinking about, oh yeah, I did that thing. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to say it like that. That's an easy fix. Go talk to the person directly, and maybe next time you're going to try doing it differently. So yeah, that's kind of my approach to how I handle feedback.
Miriam, so if beyond what both of them said, if there is a soft skill that you would prioritize beyond the actual design or creative work, what would that be?
Well, so I've been managing a lot of teams, but also different cultures. So I have teams in China, teams here, but I've also worked with teams in France. And I am from the Netherlands, and if there's one thing you need to know about the Netherlands is these people are blunt. We are blunt with capitals, and we don't know it because this is how our culture is. So I had a hard learning curve there because, you know, I would say like, well, that, and not anymore, long time ago. But so you have to have that kind of also appreciation and to also understand not only the person that you are dealing with or the team that you're dealing with, but the whole cultural setting is of importance. And in some countries it's very different. Then there's also the male-female situation that has been, especially in the past, has been problematic, that you really had to deliver respect differently, or that it's been a continuous kind of learning. But I really liked what you just said, that it's you know, like it's feedback. It's not kind of criticism. It's kind of helping people to overcome their blind spot and to see things in a different perspective. And that takes tailoring and sometimes the very objective approach. But sometimes, but that's more with the Dutch teams, I can just sit down in a heart-to-heart. That this is really, you know, like if we change this, you know, I think we all would function better. And I'm also open to that myself. So if there's anything, I'm also making mistakes. I'm also learning every day, and that will not stop, not until I'm 80 or beyond. So that's another kind of, as a manager, I more like to see myself as the mortar between the bricks than as some kind of pyramid model. And it's the cohesion that keeps the teams together, keeps them motivated, keeps them standing. Then you also need to be very much, as we would say in the Netherlands, with your feet in the clay. So it's a hands-on approach.
Great. So we have spoken about most of the aspects of leadership. Right now, if we were to switch a little and talk about an unspoken or normalized struggle that you have seen creative teams, or especially women in creative teams, go through, and which is expected to be a part of their job. So what would that be? And is it something that kills creativity, and how do you see that?
I don't know if we have a room full of designers here, but the first thing that comes to my mind is that the constant reaction we get with get that quickly fixed. Somehow the designers keep getting this onto our desk saying that, can you fix this quickly? And it's just so taken for granted that we can fix things quickly. There's so much of a process behind everything we do. And I think that's the part that I feel that taken for granted that we fix things quickly, that we can just be magicians out of the world, kills creativity very, very at times. It also sort of tends to take us for granted sometimes, I feel. Are they even understanding what we are doing? So that seems like the most common struggle when I talk to my teams as well, in fact, saying that not sure if our stakeholder has understood this is the amount of time it would take to come up with something like this if we wanted to do deep, meaningful design with some very tangible outcomes, right? So I think that's like a very common source problem that comes our way in terms of struggles, I'd say.
Great. How about you, Miriam?
Well, I think that I'm a firm believer in multidisciplinary teams, so not just having the designers in the room, but everybody, and especially if we do co-creation for hospital solutions. We bring in the nurses, we bring in the clinicians. We've also brought in patients, which didn't always work out because we are kind of these, especially in these co-create sessions, we're very, as design community, we're very articulate, and we had poor patients that were completely overwhelmed and didn't, couldn't express themselves anymore. They really didn't know where they got into. So we changed that concept. But for me, multidisciplinarity is a creativity enhancer, but also the kind of the bandwidth of your solutions, and that's also looking at male, female, but different cultural backgrounds, as we always strive to come up with global solutions. So that's a definite thing, but I think if you, we have, of course, we have a very large pool of designers. I don't manage them all, but we have a system in the company that allows people to change regularly, and they get a fresh perspective. They bring the experience from the other teams, and that kind of cross-fertilization I see also as really adding value to the end results.
Wonderful. Rucha, what is your take on this?
I think there's the saying, show, don't tell. And I think designers are really good at that. So kind of plus one a little bit to what you were saying. I've realized like making people aware by just talking about this is what designers do, this is what creativity is, this is how it works, hasn't been really working. So doing a lot more working sessions with cross-functional teams together, where you have the engineer, you have the product manager, you have marketing, you have legal, you know what that does immediately? It opens up everybody's eyes to how much work. It doesn't just take design to do something. Suddenly everybody realizes, oh my God, legal needs like 4 weeks to do this thing. And design didn't realize that, product didn't realize that. So my approach with a lot of my teams is always have a kickoff where all of you are present, your entire XFN team, you're very clear on your timelines, your deliverables, you're talking about what is the problem? Are you aligned on your problem? If you're not, that's like the first place that you need to fix. And then what are your deliverables? A lot of people freak out, oh my God, I don't have time. I'm like, okay, does engineering need everything on week 6? Because they're not building everything. There's not like 20 engineers just sitting free building everything. How do you phase it out? What are your deliverables? Sequence them. So there's a lot of planning that I think teams don't do as well. And when you spend a little bit of time planning with your cross-functional partners, it can go a long way, and it really relieves that stress and gives you that room for creativity. There's always a way to work around it. And if it's not, then you escalate, right? One way is to escalate and say, hey, this is unrealistic. You've set up this outcome, but obviously whoever asked for this hasn't thought through things. And oftentimes, leaders will ask for a lot of things, but they don't always know the details of what it takes to get something done. So then it's just a conversation. You go back to your leaders, whether it's a VP or a CEO, and say, hey, I know you want us to do this. Here's what we can do in 2 months. Here's what we can do in 6 months. What do you recommend? How do you want us to approach this? And you want us to go all in? I'm going to need 50 more people to do this.
Great, and I think just for the benefit of the team here and also to break the rhythm that we are going through, here is going to be a quick different format session. So you get to pick the yes or no cards right in front of you. So I'm just going to quickly ask you a set of questions. You can show yes or a no. And then if there is a follow-up question to it, we get to ask. For those in the room, these might be some of the questions that they are looking for in a specific set of designers. So this will give you some cues in case you're looking at interacting with them beyond the stage. So we will begin with a gut check. It's a quick yes or no, rapid fire leadership trade-off questions. The very first one, have you ever chosen mindset over skill when hiring? Wow, yes.
Most of the time, I'd say.
Great, yes. Have you ever promoted someone who wasn't fully ready because you believed they would rise? Great. And a quick follow-up to this, have you seen that being successful, or have you had lessons otherwise also? I would be more than happy to know if there, I mean, you can talk about it, yes and a no, okay. Yes. So I would like to know about the no more. So when did you think you failed?
Well, I think that's also, I always see that we're also part of a bigger organization, and an organization as Philips, the organization is not always ready. So I can have a firm belief in putting someone in a position, but if it's even a different profile than the corporate expects it to be, then I can get pushback. And it's not all about me in this case.
Got it. Okay, moving on to our fast-paced questions. Have you delayed a launch just to get the creative quality right? Have you delayed a launch just to get the creative quality right? No? Okay, so how did you deal with it, Rucha and Purnima? One of you can share details.
I think when you're working, and I've said this in all my presentations I've talked about, design is in service of business. Yes, it's a creative process and endeavor, but we are here to serve the business. Maybe people differ in their opinions, but that's what design exists for. We're a utility. We are here to serve our users and the business. So there are ways to solve for this. I have multiple teams and people coming to me telling me, this is not meeting quality. We are not proud of this. This is not hitting the bar. I'm like, great, how bad is this out of 10? Is it 4? Then I'll go bad for you. But if it's 7 or 8, then are we able to complete our task? Do we have a follow-up launch? How can we get through some of these fixes? And yes, there is also the dark side of you launch your MVP and you never go back and fix it, right? That happens. That's the fear of all teams. But you have to have the belief that your team, at the end of the day, not just you, your XFN team is accountable for quality and the product. So that's how I manage it, which is why I don't block launches. I don't think you should block a launch. You need to get it out there. It's the deliverable. It's the timeline. Unless it's really that poor, then I think even your other partners will be like, yeah, we're not ready to launch this.
Great. The next question is, have you ever let a junior lead something when the senior wasn't expecting you to do it?
Sorry.
Have you ever let a junior lead something big even when the senior wasn't expecting you to do it?
I'm quite a pro at this, actually. A lot of the junior designers who's worked for me have probably vouched for this, because I believe they have a lot of energy, the younger people, and getting them out there. They're probably the best people with my clients, in fact, so I've kind of pushed them in front of the clients.
Okay, let me flip the question again. How did you deal with the seniors who were not working okay for you to do that?
I think you give them equal opportunity somewhere else. And that's the maturity part. You build in a lot of maturity in your team to be able to work despite age gaps, right? They should be able to welcome this kind of a diversity when it comes to age. Yeah.
Have you regretted not pushing harder to defend a creative integrity in leadership rooms? Have you regretted not pushing harder to defend creative integrity in leadership rooms?
It's like a yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Miriam says yes. So Miriam, do you want to tell us a specific incident where you didn't, and if you were to change now, what you have done?
Yeah, The thing is that it's not always about creativity, but it's kind of if you believe in something, like the Innovation Experience Labs were quite an investment to have, but we were so successful in one location, so we pitched to have it as a global setup, also because we were really seeing that we could deliver benefits and unique data from having these labs in 4 locations, because in a lab we will pitch innovation to customers in kind of an NDA setting, and if we do this, then it's very valuable as a global player that you get this feedback from a global perspective, and that can really help you. But that took a lot of convincing. So I see that as the creative proposition in this case.
Great. Have you let someone else take credit for a win to help them grow? Okay, so another follow-up to this. So if that becomes a practice, what happens to the person who is just used to taking wrong credits?
Not wrong credit, but perhaps if they played even a smaller role, they're probably appreciated. I think wrong credit is not welcome anytime. The duly right credit is where it is, but then, like she rightly said, you lead from behind many times. Maybe the success was because of you, but then you've got this, your team is everything. There's no leader without a team is what I always sort of believe, and it's probably giving them credit is what makes them grow always. So that's how it is.
Perfect. So this question, primarily, I would like to ask from an individual perspective, because from a leader perspective, of course, the team and whatever they do is a collective win for everyone. But there is a set, because why I'm asking this is it's the most common problem in most of the corporates, and that's exactly why people fight, like giving the wrong credit to the wrong person. So how okay, Rucha, what about you?
I think it's not so much wrong credit. So I may have been the originator of an idea, like, hey, you need to go talk to XYZ people to make this XYZ thing happen because it's a challenge we see and it's a gap. But the fact that someone took that and they went that extra 20 miles and they did all the work to make that happen, come to life, and align everybody and do all the work needed to bring that to life, I think for me, that is where I can say, yeah, you know, I'm working with my team, we proposed this, but the actual credit, those are the environments in which I kind of give the credit, which is, I'm not saying, yeah, I came up with this, and so this whole thing exists because I said we should do this. I proposed this, but here's what this person did. They actually took all this on their own initiative, with their own planning, and figuring out how the path forward should go and deliver. And I would never give anybody wrong credit. Like, I think that just sends the wrong message. But the fact that you are seeing somebody put in 90% of the work, because I didn't put in the 90%, and how do you kind of then share the credit?
Wonderful. So this specific controversial question was just to bring in the difference between give the right credit to the right person, even if they have played a very, very small role, rather than miscrediting a person for doing nothing at all. So following up with our next question, have you ignored a best practice when your team really needed something different? Have you ignored a best practice because your team needed something different? Yeah, it's quite common, I guess, because we can't always go by the rule book and we need to figure out what works for that context and that moment. So moving on to a very quick round of rapid fire questions, we can just put the cards down and I will go by names and you can just let me know what you think about this. So Rucha, a design trend you are ready to let go of?
I don't know. I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Skeuomorphism.
Okay. Purnima, a soft skill that matters more than it gets credited for.
Communication skills. We're in the age of making sure you know how to communicate with the bots. So, yeah.
Miriam, a sign that creativity isn't actually respected in a company.
There's so many.
If you were to name the top or one that comes to your mind right now.
Well, I think it's what you were saying, like, do it quick, you know, can you quickly fix this? Yes. Or, you know, just make it pretty. Oh,
yeah. I hate that one.
So much.
Everybody's resonating with the make it pretty word. So something, Purnima, something that you fought for that wasn't worth the push?
I don't think so. I've done something
Okay,
like that.
something that you fought for that was worth the push?
Right. Something that got escalated, in fact. I did not fill a position on leadership on my team because I felt there was no balance in leadership. There were way too many men sitting there in that band, and I waited and waited till I ensured the right woman leader entered my team. And even within women, I was making sure the right fit came in over here. So it got escalated for having the highest period of a wait to fill in that hiring ticket. But I was pretty adamant, and it was absolutely worth the wait. And not to mention names, she's doing wonderful work globally now. So, yeah.
Great. Rucha, a design superpower that doesn't show up in a resume or portfolio.
Curiosity.
Great. Miriam, pitch room or war room?
Pitch.
Pitch room, okay. Purnima, creative chaos or streamlined process?
Am I allowed to say creative process and chaotic, streamlined chaos?
Yeah, you've just merged both. Yeah, works perfectly well. Rucha, client first or creative first?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Client first or creative first?
Creative first.
Great. Miriam, over deliver or under promise?
Over deliver.
Over deliver. Great. Purnima, post-mortem or move on?
Move on. Yeah.
Great. Culture fit or culture add, Rucha?
Culture add.
Great. To all three of you, work hard or work smart?
Work
I'm
smart.
a work hard person, but I've always envied the work smart one. So I'd say a combination of work hard and a work smart.
Miriam, what would you pick? Work hard or work smart?
Smart.
Smart.
Work
Rucha,
smart.
I think smart.
I think people blur the line sometimes. They're like, oh, I was working so late. I was doing this deck, this design. I didn't sleep till 1. I'm like, why? Did someone ask you to do that? Did you have a deliverable that you're falling behind? Did you not plan your project? Like, what led to that? Then don't complain if you like to work like those hours, or you're not. We need to have a better discussion about how you're managing your time. So I think working smart is really a good skill for all designers to learn.
Yeah, I
Yes.
couldn't agree more. And I think also our company policy is that there's no clock anymore. I don't think any company does that. So it doesn't matter how you deliver, you know, what you need to deliver. And if you do it smart, yeah, then the output will be better.
Wonderful. Now, one last question. So we spoke about the 1 Million Women Initiative. And if that initiative existed when you really needed something, which part of it do you think you would have loved to look up to 1 million women for a support ecosystem?
I think it's amazing what this initiative is doing in terms of connecting people, bringing in awareness, mentorship, availability for mentorship. I think that didn't really exist at a time when we were evolving and growing as designers. We'd probably bank on a lot of our, design faculty back in the days, or, some of your senior leaders or something like that. But when you have like a professional platform or a pool of leaders to do this, it's amazing where it comes in handy. And if I look back at my own story, I had a long span in my career where I went really slow doing the same role, same job for the 13 years. Yeah, I think this morning, if you all attended the session, the number 13 came, and that happened in my life too. 13 years I did the same role. Of course, no regrets, because I was nurturing another human being. I was being a mother to my child. There was no sounding board for me. I just took that wild jump and plunged into and took something big. But if there was a forum like this, like an initiative like this, for a lot of women who are coming back to the board after a lull period, which is not wrong, but I think women have their own choices to go slow, in fact. And it's a phase of our lives. It's absolutely nothing wrong in doing it. It's only about, when is the right time to bounce back, and then having a support system for you to come back. I think that support system, it would be fantastic, yeah.
Great. Rucha?
I don't know a lot about this platform, but when I heard about it, it sounds great, or having any community to lean on. And I think in your early career, for sure, it makes a big difference. People make different decisions at different points of time. I'm a mom to 2 kids too, but I didn't take a break. I've never taken a full break. So, but if I think back at my career, I think early career, having mentorship, having your so-called board of directors, as I've already been told by my mentors, have your board of directors, the people who are going to recognize what you're capable of what you should be doing, where you should be, are you making the right moves. I think having that in your early to mid-career can really make a difference to your trajectory and where you go. And now I'm realizing, even as a senior leader, that I need a different kind of board of directors. I need people I can really learn from. Many more senior women leaders here who can just give you a different perspective than what you needed. So I think at different points in your career, having that community is really supportive.
Wonderful. How about you, Miriam?
Yeah, so I think if I think back in the days when there were the first female leaders, the only way they could kind of survive in corporate society was to be more men than men were. So they were very much suits, you know, and they would not be nice, and they would not give you, as you know, a younger designer, they wouldn't give you any slack or any credits or space to grow. So I'm really glad where we are now, that we have acknowledged mentorship. I really believe in mentorship, but also I really believe that we shouldn't try to be the same as men are, because women are different. We have different qualities, and I think that any organization and any business benefits from taking that type of employeeness and leadership, embrace it and elevate it in their company, because in the end of the day, well, I work for healthcare, and at least 50% of our customers are female. It's the nurses who are operating these devices to a large extent. So, yeah, how can you better anticipate on that than with multidisciplinary, well-balanced teams?
Great. So I think it's time for lunch also for everybody here. So all of the panelists are going to be around. More specifically, I think they will also have lunch together with you. So if you have any specific questions, please catch them and ask them for real life insights, real life stories, real life challenges, and real life struggles. And if you're really looking for a support ecosystem, and if you're willing to support, please reach out, and we have a huge list of roles that you can play, and we would love to collaborate with you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of this wonderful
Fabulous.
panel.